Welcome to the Aesthetic Doctor Podcast. We don't shy away and keep secrets here. We empower you with education, telling you the truth about all things aesthetic medicine while encouraging you to be the best version of yourself. It's time to look great and feel good doing it. This is your host, mom, speaker, and board-certified physician, Dr. Judith Borger.
Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 84 of the Aesthetic Doctor Podcast. Today, let's talk about boundaries. I know. You guys are all like, boundaries. We've heard so much about boundaries. And you're right. We talk a lot about boundaries in general, right? It's like one of those buzzwords. And the reason we talk about boundaries is because boundaries are always an issue. They come up over and over and over again. And the reason is that the only person that can put those boundaries around you and that can put that energetic shield around yourself is you. Everybody else benefits from you not having boundaries. So whether they know it or they don't, whether it's their intention or not, they will unwillingly always kind of come clawing at your boundaries or come pop into that energetic shield. And it is your continuous job to keep setting boundaries. And you know what's really interesting about this is that as we evolve, so do our boundaries, right? And so does that feeling of what it feels like when our boundaries are violated. So most of you know that I have a pretty significant trauma history. And I think one of those things about having a trauma history is that initially you're so used to having people violate your boundaries because really, like, that is really what abuse and trauma and all of that is. It's like your personal boundaries for safety and well-being, your body's boundaries, and everything kind of gets violated, right? So I think that first step is just becoming somebody who can hold some boundaries. And I know for me, it is one of the reasons why I was in a bunch of really, really terrible relationships, because I did not think that I was worth certain things. I did not think that I was worthy of love. I didn't even know how to receive love. But the whole point about it is also that I did not think I was really worthy of boundaries. I didn't set boundaries. I didn't know what boundaries really were. And then, as sort of my healing and all of that started, like little by little, I set boundaries. It's easier sometimes to set boundaries with people that aren't close to you. We all know that it's really those people that are closest to us. Sometimes it's your parents, it's your siblings, it's your significant others, it's your best friend that are the hardest people to set boundaries for, because you always, when you set a boundary, like, first you set a boundary and then you sort of have to enforce it. It's not like it's a fence that you built that's there. I mean, it's a fence that you built that's there, and then people are like, why is there a fence? I liked it better with no fence. Let me just kind of climb over the fence. Like, this fence, you don't really mean the fence, like, right? I mean, this fence is just decorative. It's not really meant to be a fence, right? So I think that's the other thing I want to talk about, is that some of us, those first steps are really to set boundaries with our work, with our employers, with things that are sort of far away from us emotionally. And then the more we heal and the more we protect our boundaries and the more we build those really healthy boundaries where you're like, ooh, this is where my well-being ends. And also, this is where my worth lies. You guys all know that I started with coaching, and that completely changed my life. And when I then did the deeper, more subconscious kind of healing work, that my life really, really changed, because some of these patterns that were still there really had to do with my feeling of worthy of love and my feeling of enoughness and my feeling of all of those things, like on the very, 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 very inside. So now, like when I set boundaries, I set them from a different place. And the reason I wanted to bring up boundaries is because there's been this theme lately that people have just been like pushing my boundaries. And I always think when that happens, there's like a growth edge. Like I am evolving. I am setting stronger boundaries. Like I am expanding and holding boundaries. And it doesn't benefit anybody but you. Like people don't love that. I guess what I mean by that is that recently I've had a couple of incidences. First of all, my kids were pushing my boundaries hardcore. But then I also had a coach in one of my programs like completely violate my boundaries. And when I brought it up, and I just was like, look, this feels like icky. This feels like not right. This feels like you joined this thing. She was like, oh no, da 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 da. And I was like, and I could feel it in my soul. Like I could feel it in my being that I was like, oh, you're just like me right now. By the way, bleep, 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 bleep on that. You're violating my boundaries. And it feels like such a violation. And I was like, listen, no, let me tell you, like, what it is that it comes across that you're doing. And it was such a powerful moment to actually stand up for myself truly, because that's the other thing. Those people who are like close to you, it's harder with them because you love them, you have a good relationship with them, and you kind of want things to be harmonious. You want them to love you. You want them to accept you. If you're like me, you don't actually like conflict. I kind of hate conflict. However, like it also feels so good to be so clean with your boundaries. So that was my experience recently, and it really made me think about boundaries. And then I talked to several other people, and they were all like, oh, I'm having a major boundary issue with my mom, and I'm having a major boundary issue with this employee, and I'm having a major boundary issue with this. So I'm like, I don't know. Is it the planets? Is it the moon? Is it just the thing? Or is it just the universe telling me I need to talk about boundaries? But I guess the reason we talk about boundaries so much is because it's a continuous thing. And maybe that is one of the points of this podcast. You never, ever solve the boundary issue forever, right? Like you will set a beautiful, firm boundary and a clear boundary with work, and it'll be great. But then over time, like, right, the scheduler will still be like, hey, what if we just like schedule that last slot before lunch? Or what if I just put you on the schedule 3 weekends a month? And then you have to go back and be like, hey, remember, and as I said, the more you feel enough, the more comfortable you will also feel with really addressing boundary issues in a kind but firm way. And I think that's also one of those things that if you can say to somebody right away, oh, I'm noticing this pattern, or I'm feeling this way, or can we kind of go back to doing XYZ that we agreed on? It's a much easier conversation than if you let it go and you feel resentful and you're feeling like, this person's respecting my boundaries. Because honestly, it might be intentional, it might be not. But if you just address it right away, and I think the thing about boundaries is it's always up to you to hold your own boundaries. Don't blame other people because they're just in their own little energetic bubble. They're walking around with their own little trauma history. They're walking around with their own feelings of not lovable or not this and their own wounds. And so as we work together, we all want to live together in harmony, but in a way that nobody really gets violated, energetically violated, their boundary violated, those non-negotiable boundaries violated. Maybe sometimes it does take a conversation, it does take compromise, but it can't be at the point that your deepest core feels icky, feels yucky, feels violated. So I guess my big long rant about boundaries really is that boundaries are a continuous issue. boundaries are hardest with people closest to you, and those are also the people that can push your boundaries and push your buttons the most. This is where healing is magical. This is where coaching is magical. Because again, it's sometimes about what's happening, sometimes it's about the stories you tell yourself that are happening, right? And so boundaries, we talk about them over and over because they require setting over and over. It's up to you to maintain that clear, beautiful shield of energy that surrounds you, that protects you, that only lets love in. And it's always your job. It's never somebody else's job. So, boundaries, they've just come up a lot for me in these last 2 weeks. They've come up for people I coach, they've come up for people that I work with, they've come up for people that I'm friends with. So I figured I will just do a quick thing about boundaries. I hope this was somewhat helpful for you, and I would really explore you to think, like, where am I, first of all, really good at holding a boundary? Where is there a boundary I would like to set? Is there maybe a place where I feel like a boundary is getting violated? And what can I do about that? If you need any help, if you need any support, if you need anybody to talk to, if you would like to experience heart healing, I'm always here for you. And I will see you next time. Love, love, love you all, and kind of sending you big, beautiful, positive shields of light that nothing can get through.
Thank you for listening to the Aesthetic Doctor podcast with Dr. Judith Borger. We'd love to connect with you outside of the show. Follow Dr. Borger on Instagram at Dr. Borger and find more online and ways to work with Dr. Borger at www.theaestheticdoctor.com. Until next time, be well.